let's show you what we're going to make today. We are making the Hello Honey wall hanger. Now I am actually going to make mine a little differently than the pictured. It's pictured with the black, but I'm going to make mine with a faux stain background. But you'll still need black if you do that with the bee. So we can all sort our pieces. We're going to sort our pieces out the way we need them for our painting, as always. So this is golden. The honeycomb is golden. This little lady, this little border thing is gold. And then we've got the Hello Honey is gold. And this piece, these honey drops are gold. Put them there. And then hello, honey. And then all the little stripes for our bee are gold. This bee is not a one-part bee where you have to do in the lines. When it's not too small, when they're a little small, we have to do that. This one we didn't, and I'm missing. Oh, I'm not missing a piece. It's in there. I just didn't get it out. So you should have 3 little pieces that are going to be the centers of your, the stripes in your bee. And then the center of your flower. Those are all the gold. And then for the white, we're going to have our flower and our flower petals. And the bee's wings, which actually look like a heart. And then our little strange ones in the middle, we have the black for our bee and the red for the little heart that goes on him. Yes, that's good. It gets me every time when we do a bee like this because the wings are a heart. So this stuff's white, this is black, this is red, and this is all gold. Both white and gold are ones that a lot of times need second coats. So I am going to do them early on in the process. But first of all, I'm going to do my board. So I'm going to stain my board like with using the faux stain. So I'm going to use I'm using real brown. Burnt umber's a really good one. You can do any color you want. You could do the black this way. You could put the black on this way. So we're going to get us a wipe. And wet wipe, and that's what we're going to use to apply it. It doesn't take much paint. I got way too much for this, but that's okay. We're going to dip our wet wipe in there, kind of get it off a little bit because I got a lot the way I dip, and then just kind of put it in the middle and work our way out so that we spread that like it looks, so it looks like it has stained the wood. So your top part and the bottom part are the parts that need to be painted the black or the stain, whatever you're doing. Or you could do them differently. You could do the top stain and the bottom black if you wanted. I am staining a little heavier than I normally do for 2 reasons. One, this wet wipe is not very wet, but I liked it, so I'm keeping going. Because I am, we're replacing black, so I do want it to be somewhat dark. Okay, so there's that gets your base painted. Okay, so now we'll do our white. And I'm actually probably gonna brush all my white. Because it just goes on thicker brushed, and this guy is white, not yellow. I laid this out wrong. So this one is yellow. Come on, go back over there. Okay. This one is yellow. But this one is white. Grab it over there. That one is white. So that I will do with the sponge. But these I'm going to do with a brush because it just goes on quicker and it goes on thicker. So it won't take quite as many coats, I don't think. So let's start with our sponge. We're going to do this piece with the sponge, the kind of lacy, trimmy piece. We're using the sponge on this because it's got all those holes and you don't want those holes to fill in. And if you use a brush or if you load your sponge too full, it will fill those holes in, put clumps of paint there. So you want to make sure that you have unloaded the paint as much as possible in your tray and you're using a very light touch. So see, one load only did like 3.5 loops of the thing, but it's okay. I'd rather have to reload my sponge every little bit than have to clean out my holes. I'm going back over and getting most of my redoing, another coat on the white. White is one of those colors that you almost always have to do the second coat. But we had enough pieces here today that I just kind of got them all done, and then I don't even have to wait to go back. I can go back and start on the other pieces and work my way back across again. You could easily do these with the sponge. You could use the sponge like a brush, or you can do these the same way we did the piece of lace there with like the sponge dab method, and it works on these big pieces too. It just takes a lot more, and for me it hurts my shoulder because of the up and the consistent up and down kind of repetitive stress type thing. Okie dokie. So now we're going to do the gold. This is going to be a quick paint. The gold will take a while though because it's all of that stuff up there. And most of it is sponge paint. Almost all of it is sponge. You might get away with that. That's the only piece you might get away with the brush on. So I think we'll just sponge it. The good thing about the sponge is it takes less paint. And yellow is one. A lot of times you need to do 2 coats. But with sponge, a lot of times you can go back and get it like each time you do a sponge area, you go do the next area, and then you come back and do that other area over again. So because it dries, it's such a thin layer of paint that it dries really, really quick. As you can see, I'm just kind of going back over as I go, kind of working my way forwards and backwards at the same time, filling in so that I don't hopefully have to come back and do a second coat. The good thing is, though, since all of this is sponge painting, we won't have to do much touch-ups. Forgot to do our middle piece. Don't forget this little piece here is blue. Okay, and then our red, we just have the little bitty heart. And then black is our last one for our bee. It's himself. Little Mr. B is black. Because he's got all those little corners and edges, it's not as bad with black because you know, it just blends on the edges, but I'm still using the sponge because that way I don't get any clumps. And even though we have a wing going over the top of that, let's look to make that white. I'm painting that fully so that if anything shows through, it'll be okay. If the wing doesn't fit perfectly, it should, but if it doesn't, it'll be fine. Or if I don't get it in the exact right spot. Okay, so that's all of our parts and pieces. There's really not anything that's going to need to be trimmed. Maybe the flower. Let's see how it turned out. I was careful. Yeah, I think we'll do it. And the petals maybe. But the rest of them are all sponge paint, so they're not going to need. It's another advantage. I'm doing off the screen on you. It's another advantage of doing them with the sponge painting is that you don't have to do much trimming. I'm just trimming my edges with black where my paint went off my edges to kind of clean up those edges. The ones that are sponge painted, I have a really even line kind of around them, and they're not a problem. I'm not going to worry about them. They do have a little bit of a line of paint going down them, but not. It's all real even and it's all real light. I hear Mr. Emilian.
Yeah. Someone needs to go to bed. So
What time is it for you?
Almost 9 p.m. So yeah.
So you're like 7 hours ahead of us right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So have you not done spring? Well, no, we've sprung forward. So you're normally 7 hours ahead. Right, you're 6 hours ahead of Katie, 7 hours ahead of me. Okay, it's okay. I just had to calculate it.
That's okay. I get confused.
I'm so used to your 6 hours because it was
Yeah.
that's when we lived in Florida. That's what it was.
Florida,
You were 6
yeah.
hours ahead.
I believe
But-
like 6 hours are easier to calculate. Always.
Yes, it is.
Mm.
But now you're 7 from me.
Mm.
We're doing strawberries in May.
Ooh.
And I put white paint pens in because it's really easy to highlight on strawberries with the white paint pen. And I had some
Cool.
extras, so I thought, I'll give you guys white paint pens. There's also a little surprise in them. I'm just going to start And it goes the other way. Make sure you put it the right direction. Putting these on. I actually would use the yellow honeycomb as my point where I'm gonna make everything line up with it, because it needs to line up with the bottom of the board. So you want to put it on first. Make sure that it lines up with the bottom of the board there. Then you want to put the teal on. Again, make sure it's lining up with the outside pieces of the board. And then the white goes on top of that. The white little lacy piece. Okay. And then our little Mr. B goes over here. Our flower and our bee. Our flower goes down this way. Takes up quite a bit of space there down into the honeycomb area. And our bee goes up here going off the top to kind of go in to connect that white piece a little bit. So we're going to put our flower together. Put on our extra petals to give it some extra dimension. Okay, and then we're going to put our piece of honey drips on, and it should go right up against that flower and across there and then off to the end. And I'm actually putting mine up just a little bit so it covers the line between. And actually, I'm not quite right here. So it will cover the line between the blue and the honeycomb. Okay, and then the Hello Honey. Our little stripes in our bee. And add our bee's wing. And our little heart for our bee. And there's what we look like all put together. But there's what you end up with. You get the idea. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial and will join us again soon for the next thing we do. Thanks for joining us.